I think one of the things that people find kind of scary about writing orchestral music is the fact that it seems just so complicated. Like there's so many parts, there's so many sections, so many different instruments, and this and that, and you're thinking, how in the world could you manage writing all of these different parts? But I have some good news, and this is one of the biggest tips I can give to anyone who wants to start writing orchestral music. There's really only about 5 parts or 5 different things ever happening at once when you're listening to an orchestra. It's actually a whole lot like a band, really like a 5-piece band, a singer, a piano or guitar player, and then a drummer and a bass player, and then maybe an extra singer or something. That's really, that's as complex as a full orchestra is. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is a little composition that I made last week. It was really a test just because I got some new VSTs and I wanted to hear them. But I only had a couple of voices and I color-coded everything. And I think it's a good example. Because listen to this, it actually has a pretty full sound, all things considered. Okay, you get the idea. So it sounds like this big orchestra, right? But really it's not. And I'll break it down for you and show you kind of what's going on. So everything that's here in the yellow is like the lead voice. This would be like your lead singer if it was a band. Everything down here in this brownish orange is just chord stuff. So this would be like a guitarist or a piano player or something. All this navy blue is all bass, right? And then anything that's purple is like percussion. And then this light purple thing it's also kind of like percussion. It's more of like a decorative thing. I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, let me show you right here. All of these instruments are playing the exact same thing. I'll solo them out so that you can hear them a little bit better. Some of them are playing in different octaves. But as far as the notes they're playing the exact same notes. See, it's all the same stuff. The thing about writing for orchestra isn't so much how many parts you're writing, but it's like, oh, what parts sound cool together. So I noticed that like these short flutes, clarinets, and oboes, and the short trumpet sounded pretty good with the xylophone, and so I mixed those and got this sound. And that's all I was doing. And then we can go ahead and look at the chords down here. So this is all the strings. It doesn't have to be strings playing your chords, but that's what I was doing here. And I just have them playing these quick notes, just ba 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 over and over again. They're just kind of rapid firing. It'd be like if someone was just strumming like crazy, or if they were just playing a piano and just going nuts on it, basically. But these are all, these are just individual parts. This is the cello. It's playing the lowest part of the notes, like the root of the chord. And then we have here, we have like the third or the fourth. The third or the fifth. And then maybe another root somewhere in the chord. It's just voiced differently depending on which chord is playing. But here, just have a listen to that. They're all playing the same rhythm, and they're all playing just different notes within a chord, depending on which chord I had playing over which measure. That's all that's going on there. And then we have all the bass parts. So let me solo these guys out real quick. So we just have bassoon, we have tuba, we have timpani, and then we have the actual string bass. And they're all playing, and the trombone. They're all playing the exact same thing. They really are. The exact same notes. The timpani is a little bit different. It's playing like, instead of just holding out notes, it's playing some rhythms. You'll hear it. But they're all in the same octave for the most part. You hear the timpani's a little bit different. And then the trombone is an octave high. And you can hear how that changes the sound a little bit. But that's all that's going on as far as basses are concerned. Now, this is actually very simple. Usually it would be a little bit more interesting than this, but still, as simple as this writing is, it still works in the context of the overall composition. Then the last thing, all we have left now is our percussion or our drummer. This is actually much more simple than what like a drummer would be playing in a band, for example. I have some cymbals, and then a bass drum here, and then this snare that's just playing this little rhythm over and over again. And then on the downbeat, we have that. And then the last thing is that little decorative texture that I was telling you about, which would be the French horn. This is called a horn rip. This is like a technique they can play. Sounds kind of cool. And I use it more like a percussion thing, so like it goes boom, downbeat like that. So it mixes well with like the bass drum and the cymbals and the snare and such. Here, give it a listen. It's kind of like a I don't know. Anyways, that's all that's going on. is really just a handful of things. 5 things going on at the most. So there you go. That's writing for an orchestra. It's really simple. I'll do some more videos in the future, kind of breaking down how you can choose which instruments you want, like, to get different sounds, because that's really the tricky part with orchestral writing, is like, oh, what sounds am I going to mix together to get different sort of feels and stuff. But as far as like writing parts for an orchestra, it's really simple. This is all there is to it. So try to keep that in mind when you're listening to orchestral music too. You want to try to pick out, because you can pick out how many things are going on. There's really not a whole lot, generally speaking, especially with our modern music. Now, there's some like Baroque stuff that's crazy and they have so much going on you can't even process it, but like as far as like modern orchestral music, or even a lot of stuff from like the classical music era and romantic era, it's pretty easy to follow along. This is about all they have going on, because if you have any more than 5 parts or 5 totally different ideas going on at once, it's almost impossible to track with it and follow it. So there you go. Just keep that in mind, and don't be afraid of writing orchestral music. Just go for it. And if you're looking for, I'll throw this in here, if you're looking for a good string sample package to use, Spitfire Audio put one out called Strings 2. It's a free lab, and they're like a super legit VST company. So I'll have a link down in the description. You can go check that out if you didn't know that exists. So it can be, something to kind of kickstart you writing some orchestral music. So, all right, guys, best of luck to all of you. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys next week.